Well, that was rather inescapable, was it not? Marneus Calgar is dead, and Marvel wielded the knife. As inescapable as the sun rising in the morning and falling in the evening, Marvel simply just cannot leave well enough alone. So, let's talk a bit about it, shall we? Because there are some obvious negatives and at least some theoretical positives with all of this, so let's address it. Originally, I wasn't going to talk about the comic because I read the first chapter and I figured to myself, this is inoffensive. You know, it's no Damnation Crusade, it's no Death Squadron, but it's alright. It's a passable action-style comic, so I figured we'd wait and then we'll judge it as a whole at a point further down the line, but already a few things were irking me a little bit. The tech priest, for example. He doesn't feel like a tech priest at all. He comes across as, the kind of character somebody would write if they didn't know what a tech priest was. In fact, in one point, he is used as a pure plot delivery device, where he out loud asks the question, I wonder if we could recreate the Marneus Marine, if we could recreate a Calgar if we make the same training conditions, and then says, whoopsie lord, I didn't mean to vocalize that out loud, I meant to send that to my memory banks instead. Okay, right, a glitchy tech priest, okay, sure. A glitchy tech priest that doesn't know the difference between his vocal cords and his memory banks. Fair enough, okay. And then there's Calgar himself, who doesn't look at all like Calgar. And then there's his slave boy, Tacticus, who looks exactly like Calgar. Right. I can kind of see what's coming here, and in Volume 2, it was indeed confirmed. Tacticus was failing the training process. He was falling behind in every regard, and only because Marneus was there, urging him on, pushing him, encouraging him, making sure he couldn't quit or die. That was the only reason why Tacticus was still alive. This was at a training camp hosted by an individual by the name of Crixus, I believe, who had failed the selection training for the Ultramarines and now spent his life training the young boys of Ultramar to, succeed where he had failed. A noble endeavor, although his look is like, you're on, aren't you? You're a bit, And it turns out that, yes, indeed, he is a bit sus, as all of the other boys were doing better than Marneus and Calgar, Tacticus, excuse me. And they mentioned that, we had found an inner spiritual strength, me and Tacticus, but the other boys had found a more visceral, brutish, physical strength. And the other boys even mocked them for quoting scripture, English. Alright, I see where this one is going, though the full-scale corner shrine underneath the training yard, complete with dead corpses in power armor, by the way. Which no one had seen fit to collect, I guess. That was a few levels above what I had seen coming. Calgar and Tacticus is then captured, and Tacticus is prepared for sacrifice. Calgar breaks free, manages to fight his way over to his friend and save him before getting stabbed in the chest by his trainer. Tacticus grabs him and jumps off a conveniently located cliff right behind the sacrificial pit, which leads down to a conveniently located lake, which cushions their fall enough for the boys to survive, and then Calgar expires moments thereafter on the shore from the stab wound, with the dying words on his lips being, Marneus Calgar will never be a space marine. And Tacticus goes, yeah, that's kind of wrong, isn't it? I guess I'm Marneus Calgar now. Right, sure, fair enough. It is done in a more solemn fashion than that, obviously, but here's my main contention with this. The idea of, you've got the strong character who pulls on and encourages the underdog, the guy who's failing, the guy at the very bottom of the barrel, and then his idol dies, and that inspires him to push himself harder, and so he climbs up from the bottom to the top. That's a classical story, absolutely. It's a good one too, but that is how you start a character. That is how you begin a character. It is not how you intervene in a decades-old character to make him yours, because that's what you're essentially doing at that point. You are killing Marneus Calgar and replacing him with Tacticus. You have, and what you've done now is you've taken all of the achievements that is on Marneus Calgar, a legend, a hero, an icon of the Ultramarines, and you're just, no, that wasn't him. That wasn't him at all. That was my character. It's this guy right here. This guy, that guy died. Yeah, don't care about him. That's essentially what you're doing. And I find it very disrespectful, honestly. I don't like it at all. And it is classic Marvel. It is so Marvel. Taking an icon, a hero, something that's like an exemplar, and lessening them, cutting them down, destroying them, breaking them apart, and then handing all of the good parts over to someone else. Because they want to reclaim a character. They want to transfer the mantle onto something they find more suiting at the time. Miss Marvel is another beautiful example of this. She has been whatever Marvel wants her to be, whatever they think will sell at that particular point in time. She is a character whose cape flows and turns entirely with the winds of the prevailing times, which makes her uninteresting. That's what they've done to Marneus, in my opinion. They've taken the icon, they have cut him down, they have lessened him, they have killed him, and then they've created the author's own character who now gets all the plaudits and the credits instead. I don't like it. And it's exactly what I was worried would happen when they gave Marvel an established character to begin with. Now, on the good part, to be fair, Calgar's early life is mostly unexplored, almost entirely so. We know very little about it. We only know his achievements, his plaudits, when he intervened in key areas, when he led the battle against the Hive fleets, when he captured the gauntlets of Ultramar from a Chaos champion. We know of his achievements, we know very little of his life. And you could say that this is a way of rebooting the character, which it literally is, and beginning all of that anew. And okay, fair enough, but again, you could just have done that with the character of Marneus Calgar, instead of taking all of his plaudits and moving it on to a new character for no reason beyond the author going, I like this cliche, and I want to make this character mine, so whoop, there you go. Now, depending upon what they do with them, because this is the thing, you have now killed a good character, an established character, an iconic character, and replaced it with somebody else. If you can make that a superior character, then alright. That is a possible good. That is a theoretical. You can do this, but again, you should be doing it with a new character. This is the growth of a character, not the origin story of an established one. It does also open the door, of course, for something that can both be good and bad, because it could open the door for more reimaginings of the same sort, but again, here's the problem I also have though. Marneus Calgar wasn't a character that was lacking in potential complexity. He was always a guy who exemplified what it was to be an Ultramarine, but he had enough give in him to make him a little bit more flexible as well. You could have looked into that. You could have looked into how he developed, how maybe he started out as a harsh codex compliant character and then grew more liberal-minded over the years, how he saw how the codex needed to be reimagined in certain ways, how it needed to be a little bit more flexible. Perhaps he rediscovered the sayings of Guilliman, and it was like, yes, the codex is meant to be a guidebook, not a hard prescribed series of actions. Or maybe you could have explored his emotions when Guilliman returned. That was one of the only good parts in that macabre pile of crap named The Rising Storm, where Guilliman shows up, has a brief little talk with Calgar, basically tells him to go and be blue somewhere else, and takes command of the Ultramarines. That must have been a massive blow to Calgar. He'd been in charge of this chapter for God only knows how long. He was the Ultramarines. Now Papa Smurf walks in, kicks in the door and goes, I'm the boss now. And no matter how much Calgar might obviously respect his Primarch, that has got to feel really strange, doesn't it? To just have someone who doesn't know the situation, doesn't know the chapter now, just walk in and take it all from you in an instant. That would have been an interesting thing to explore. Instead, we don't get Calgar, we get Tacticus. I'm not a fan of it. Though, bearing in mind, again, to be fair, early days yet, if they manage to create a better character, then I guess that'll be good in the end, but again, this is Marvel. This is classic Marvel. This is what they do. This is how they undermine a character. And I have frankly yet to see an example of a character being undermined and then turning out to be better in the end. Look at what they did to Luke, for example. Hero of the galaxy to milking alien titties on some unknown planet. That is about as close as... And then they kill him off shortly thereafter. Although at least they give him a semi-heroic sending off, I guess. It feels like... too much like somebody who read the bare-bone basics of 40k and thought to themselves, you know what? I can do better. I think I can do better than this. And then decides to replace a old, established, decades-old character with one of his own. We'll have to wait and see how it turns out, but I'm not liking the trajectory it's currently headed in. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and until next time, I have been Arch. Thanks you all very much for watching, and have a good day.